Okay, I think I got it. Hello, welcome to today's fun and free paint party. And let me just double check everything's okay. Okay. So as you're hopping on, say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're painting with us today, I would love to, or just comment painting. And if you have any questions today, let me know. So if you're new here, my name is Byrdie Larsen, and I'm the owner of Redbyrd Designs, and we do DIY kits, wood kits, paint kits. We host paint parties virtually like this. And yeah, so a little bit about myself. I'm married to Will, and he's my partner in the business. I have 4 kids. I have a dog. A little disclaimer here, he might bark because I am in my front room. That's where my studio is at, and should a mailman drive by or anybody drive by, he lets us know. So if you hear that, please ignore him, and I might have to pop up and let him out. So let me just make sure I can see comments. Hi, Christy from North Carolina. Welcome. So today we are doing the Gnome Kisses, and if you'd like to paint along, or you're catching this on the replay or want to watch it or paint later, you can download the supply list and tracer. It's in the description. It takes you to my website, and you can browse down. There's a few there that we've done so far, so browse down the page. You'll find this one. You click free download, put your email in, and hit submit, and then we will email you a zip file that you can then download to your desktop or wherever. Unzip it, and there'll be 3 PDFs in there, one with the supply list and then 2 PDFs for the tracer. The tracer is for an 11 by 14, but you could easily take that and scale it in the PDF reader, whatever you're using, to view that and scale it before you print it, so you can make it bigger or larger. Okay, so let's get started. I am going to take my face off the screen so that we can focus on painting today. Make sure I can do this right. Okay, here we go. So I would appreciate, being a small business, I would appreciate your help in helping me get the word out about our business. So if you would like our video, give us some hearts, some thumbs up. I would so appreciate that. And again, if you would help me spread the word and get this video out there, that would be amazing. And always say hi and let me know you're watching so that I can say hi back and visit with you guys while we're painting. So, okay. Introductions are over, so let's get to the fun part of this paint party. We are doing the gnome. I have put this off to the side here, so I'm pretty sure we can still see it. I have my tracers printed out, so you'll get a tracer labeled the top, and so it has the top part, and then one that's labeled the bottom. It's got the bottom part of the tracer, and you're just going to line those up, and then you can tape them down or tape them together. From Snowy MI is Michigan, right? Welcome. Hello. We have had cold, but not so much snow. We've had that cold weather, but not quite as much snow as I've seen other people have. Okay, so I've just quickly taped those together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this to my paper. So I'm painting on an 11 by 14 piece of paper. It's a mixed media paper. Let me just show you real quick. So I really love painting on this mixed media paper from Canson. It's the oil and acrylic, and it's 136 pounds, meaning if you didn't know, the heavier the weight the paper, the better it is at withstanding the wet from the acrylic paints. And so the heavier the weight, the less buckling and bubbling that will happen. St. Joseph, Michigan. Okay, I thought I was right. I get some of my abbreviations wrong sometime, especially with the M's. We're MT, Montana. So welcome. Let's see if I can see who else is here. Hi, Jody. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Nancy. Welcome, guys. Katie, hi. At any rate, and then I've also taped mine down. And the reason for that is, one, just to help me hold it down, and two, it gives me this really crisp white border all the way around. So you do not need to tape yours down. Obviously, you can print right to the edge, and that is fine. So just an option there, and I'll show you that when we're done. I'll remove the tape and show you that border there. All right, so we are just going to line up our image on our canvas or your paper, whatever you're printing on, and then I'm going to tape it down. To transfer the image, I'm going to use what's called graphite paper or carbon paper. And graphite paper has two sides. It's got a dull side and a shiny side. Make sure that your shiny side is down. And you're going to put it between your two pieces. And just take a pencil and trace over the lines. Bring that down a little bit, and we'll finish tracing this. Oh, and I just took a peek, make sure I got everything, and I forgot a line, so we'll go back in, take another peek, get that line there. When you're doing your transfer and working with graphite paper, use a really light hand so that you don't get super dark lines with that graphite paper, because graphite paper is somewhat erasable, but sometimes, depending on the brand, it can get really hard to remove. So use a light hand so that it's easy to cover if you make a mistake with your paint. Hi, Katie. I finally got you live, and these look cute. Thanks, Katie. I think I saw that you had ordered a Glowforge. Is that correct? Okay, let me find my brush. Oh, my brush is in my water. Okay, so for brushes today, we're going to use a large flat. Hi, Susie, thanks. Hi, Jessica from Florida, awesome. And we're gonna use just a couple different rounds. So I've got a large round, I typically use a medium round, and then I'll get a small round out as well, and a liner brush. Next week, Katie, holy smokes, did you That's quick. Did you order it a while ago? I had thought you had just ordered it, and if it's coming next week, then that's pretty amazing turnaround time. Good for you. Congratulations. Okay, so colors. I'm using black and white. I've got a Key West from Apple Barrel, Royal Fuchsia from Anita's, Sun-Kissed Peach from Apple Barrel. We've got a Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel and a Granite Gray from Apple Barrel. But these are just suggestions. Feel free to use whatever paint colors that you want. Oh, you did order it a long time ago. Okay. Well, I bet you're pins and needles until it gets here. It'll be lots of fun. Use any color that you want. These are just suggestions, and you don't have to use the exact same brand. So I know that Deco Art Americana makes a great fuchsia color. I think it's called Razzleberry. Even Apple Barrel has a great bright pink. I think it's called bright magenta. So feel free to mix in different brands as well. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start by filling in the background, and I used a combination of the granite gray and the white. So I'm going to get some of that granite gray out and some white. And I've got just a few areas where we see that background. We've got just a small area up here above the hat. The heart is the background. And then we've got some small areas between the hat and the nose, and then between the beard and the body of the lady here. So for this big area, whenever you're painting a big area, try and use a bigger brush. It will go a lot faster. You can hold more paint and paint a little bit quicker there. Alright, so I'm going to dip my brush into that granite gray and some of that white. We're going to blend these two colors. And I'm going to do brush strokes in the shape of the heart, so I get these fun, bold brush strokes where you can see some of that white, you can see some of that gray. So as you're working towards the edge of the background here and butting up against the hats, if you use your brush in a more perpendicular way, you can actually cut into that edge really nice. So we'll start there. I'll cut in around and make sure I have a nice edge around my heart. And then, using both colors, I can use it in the flat way and get that variation happening. So just bounce back and forth between the colors, maybe adding a little more white or gray, depending on that variation that you want to see there. Okay, so I am going to actually now switch to a round brush because my other areas are a little bit smaller, and I need a little bit more detail. So I'm going to go to my round, and I'll pick up both colors and fill in those little areas where we're seeing that background between the nose and the hat here. So this is just a little diamond shape. And then under the nose, between the beard And the body here, we have some gray. Okay, and then we've got this little triangle piece up at the top here where the two hats are meeting. And while I have this small brush full of gray and white, I'm going to go straight into that white, and I'm going to add just a few more bold brush strokes in my heart here in this background. Nothing precise about this. I'm just adding a little bit of white in here. And I'm kind of decreasing the size of my heart, so we've kind of got this larger heart, and then I come in with the white and do a smaller heart and then a smaller one, and we'll just kind of get smaller and smaller as we go. And so we've got this great difference in color there that you can see between the gray and the white. Okay, so let's work on the hats. We've got that Key West, which is probably one of my favorite teal colors. And we've got this fun, bright pink color for the lady's hat. And I'm going to grab my large flat. It is a large surface, so we can use our large brush to quickly get that paint down. We'll start with the teal or the Key West color, and we'll go at the top here, and we're going to carefully cut in around that gray heart and the gray background. If you accidentally pull that gray into your hat, just let it be for a while. We're going to come in with the second coat, and we'll be able to cover up any gray that comes in there. Don't try and cover it up now with more paint. You'll end up with kind of a globby mess there anyways. So again, as you're working in areas where you need to have some precision, use your brush in that perpendicular manner, and it can really give you a nice straight edge. There we go. Okay, so let's do the bright pink hat. This painting is super easy, super fun, just a nice painting to do that doesn't require a lot of time, but still gives you some of that creative therapy. And as you paint, as you get involved in your painting and start to kind of tune out the rest of the world and all of the troubles and worries, you'll start to ask the what if question, which is like, for example, what if I use a pattern on a hat, or what if I put polka dots here, or what if we mix this color? And really that is the magic of painting and being creative and letting those questions come and exploring and testing different things. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but then you know, right? I do a lot of what ifs in my painting, and a fair amount come out okay and some don't, and then I just turn my page and start again. Okay, there we go. Oh, I got a little bit of black in my pink here. Just blend it in a little bit and we'll come back with the second coat with that guy. And that's the problem with constantly using the same palette. You might get some of the old paint mixed in there. Okay, so we're going to switch colors and we're going to do the rim of the hats. So I'm going to give my brush a quick wash, squeeze out the water, and I'm going to go into that white. So I'm going to give this rim a coat of white. We're going to lay that white down, and then we're going to come in with some color and blend it right into that white, right onto our paper or canvas. I'm a big fan of blending right on canvas. I think it gives us this really cool blend that you wouldn't normally get if you blend it right on your palette, which we do sometimes. You get a very solid either light color or dark color, and when we blend on canvas we can get these really great streaks and areas that are a little bit darker and areas that are lighter. So I really love doing that technique. So my first coat is just getting that color down, and I got something in there. And then the next coat is going to be adding some blue. So this rim of the hat is pretty much Key West, but just a lighter color. So I'm not going to wash my brush. I'm going to leave the white in there. I'm going to dip it into that Key West, and I'm going to just drag that through my white paint that's still wet and get this just really fun streaky color that's going to come through here. So I've got some areas of white, I've got some areas that are a little bit darker, and that is what I love about that technique. Some natural highlights and some natural dark areas. Okay, so let's go to the other side and do the lady's hat. We'll start with that white. We'll get the white paint down. Okay, we got the white in, it's nice and wet. We've got white on our brush, so we're just going to do a little dip into that pink. We don't need a lot. The more pink you have on your brush, the more darker the color will be, so keep that in mind. So I'm just going to start by going down the middle there, and then I'm going to just blend that around into that white. Kind of coming around the top, the end here with my brush and getting a nice fun streaky color. Okay, So it's a little bit dark. I did add a little bit too much pink, but I'm just gonna go grab some white and I'll just add some white to that and lighten it up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. We're just going to continue down the painting here. Let's put these cute little noses in. I'm using that sun-kissed peach. Whatever peach colored paint you have will work. You could also use a cream color or really any color that you want to give your nose. Okay, so I am going to switch to my large round for this. Let me give that a wash here. And we will load our brush up with that paint and then just come in and put our coat down. So if you're new to painting, some paint, depending on the color, will cover really well, and some paint will require a few coats. And it also depends on what's underneath. So if we had a black background here, we would definitely need a lot of coats to completely cover and get a nice solid peach color or a nice solid blue color. So it depends on what's underneath, obviously, but then it also depends on the paint. Black has a really great coverage. White is more translucent. Some of this pink, you can still see some of my paper peeking through here, so this will require another coat, as opposed to my Key West color here. I don't see any of that paper peeking through. So be aware of that. If you're painting along and you've discovered your blue needs a second coat, go ahead and pause me and put your second coat on and let it dry. And then you can unpause me. That's the great thing about the replay, is if you need additional time, or you need to let things dry, or maybe you need to step away for a little bit, the replay will be here available for you to pause and start wherever and however many times you need to. So that being said, sometimes you'll see me put a second coat on my paintings during these paint parties, and sometimes you won't. It just depends on the paint. And so feel free to pause me if you need to put a second coat on yours. And it also depends on the brand. So some pinks in the Apple Barrel cover better than some pinks in Anita's. So you just kind of have to play with your paint and get familiar with it. All right, let's do the beard and the braid. I did in this territorial beige, but again, you can use any color here. You could go darker, you could switch it up. Maybe he's got a gray beard and she's got the brown braid, however you want to do that. So this first coat, there's a lot of texture in both of these elements. There's big bold brush strokes, and we've got white and we've got black in here, but we're going to just start with our first coat, and that's going to be this territorial beige. And this is one of the colors that doesn't necessarily cover too well. So if you start to see some of that canvas peeking through or whatnot, we will be coming in with additional layers to cover that and also add texture. paintings are all about layers anyways. Adding additional layers always just gives it that little extra boost it needs. And sometimes as we're painting, it can be hard to continue on and know that that next layer is going to just give it just what it needs. But trust me in saying that every layer makes it better. They say paintings kind of go through an ugly stage to start with, and that is true. And sometimes it can be hard to see through that and see past that. So with this first coat, I'm not too worried about how I'm filling in this beard. But when we start putting in that second layer, second and third layer, we're going to really start concentrating on using our brush strokes to create that beard, to create the curl in the beard and the braid, the hair, I suppose. So if you're on live, let me know if you've had the chance to paint from one of our previous Fun and Free Paint parties. And if you have, which one have you painted? Alright, there we go. Like I said, it looks like a big brown blob right now, but we will be adding detail soon. Okay, so the in my example, I've got a gray body, a gray shirt here for the gentleman, and then we just have a white shirt for the lady. And depending on what you're painting on, you might not need a coat of white there, but I'm going to put one on mine. If your paper's pure white or you have a pure white canvas, you don't necessarily need to paint that. Alright, so let's go into that granite gray. I used the granite gray for the shirt of the guy. So we'll put our first coat in, and then I came on top of this gray and added some plaid pattern. The other thing I want to mention is if you are taping your canvas or your paper or whatever it might be down, or to create a clean edge, you might lose some of the painting in that edging. So I have taped mine in about 1/4 of an inch on each side, meaning I'm going to lose 1/2 inch of my original painting. So the space here alongside of his beard is going to be a lot smaller in this painting than it was in my mixed media pad, which is fine. I just want you guys to be aware of that. Don't try and, or I guess don't think that you're doing anything wrong. That's just part of shrinking our work surface with that tape. Okay. So we've got the base down for his shirt, and we're going to go paint white on the other side. I haven't checked out the others, but now I want to paint these two. Yes, do it. They're so fun. And feel free to paint from any of the others there. If you're looking for past videos, you could, scroll down through our Facebook page, and the replay is available in the news feed. But also we have been organizing our videos on Facebook, so they're a little easier to follow, or find, I should say. So if you go to our Facebook page and you click on the video tab at the top, which is typically under the cover, there's tabs under the cover page or the cover image, tabs that are labeled, I think it starts with about, and then there's events and photos. I can't remember the other ones, but you'll find one that says videos, and so that way you can quickly get to just the videos that we've done. And then we've also taken it a step further and put the videos in albums. So there is an album called Fun and Free, and in that we've been placing all of our paint parties. So hopefully that helps kind of cut back on the searching, because once you see something, sometimes it's extremely hard to find it again in Facebook land. Okay, so I'm going to come back up. Like I said, in this example, my Key West is got some really great coverage, so I don't need to do a second coat there. But the fuchsia is needing one more coat here, so we're going to go do that. I'm going to go back to my large flat because it's a large area, and I can quickly cover that with this. Quickly put a light coat up here on the hat. Okay, there we go. Doesn't take a big heavy coat. Usually that second coat is pretty light, and we want to do light coats anyways so that it dries faster and we're able to just keep going instead of waiting for that thick coat to dry. Okay. So coming back to the hats, we've got some details that I've added here. In the gentleman's hat, he's got a cute little patch here in the gray, so I'm going to use my large round brush and just put in a little triangle here in the corner. And then we'll add some fun stitching when we get to the stage of detailing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a patch, so it doesn't have to be a perfect square or rectangle. And then we've also added some highlights to both hats. I've got some nice white bold brush strokes in my hats to help highlight those and just add a little more texture to those hats. So I'm going to use my large round. I'm going to go into that white and start at the top and just follow really that shape of the heart here. So we're just rounding that hat around. So I've got one there, and then I'm going to just add a little bit of that Key West to my brush, so I've got both colors. So now I kind of get one that's in between the bold white, and I've got just a little lighter color of that teal. And there we go. So now let's do the same on the other side. To our lady's hat, we're going to add some white highlight to that. We're going to give our brush a wash, go grab some white, and do the same thing. Follow the shape of that heart is really what we're doing. Let's go grab some pink and white together. We'll put a couple other brush strokes in there. And then I'm just going to kind of blend that white in just a little bit. And in this example, the original, I'd put some little hearts in her hat here that I will come back and do closer to the end. I've still got some little bit of wet paint there, so we'll come back for that step there. All right, let's add some white to the nose. So I'm going to dip my brush into that white. I'm going to come into that peach teal, so I've got both colors here. And I'm trying to create just a little bit of some shine on the top of their nose here to indicate there might be some light bouncing off the top of their nose. They've got a little bit of a glint there. Doing this really helps give these elements some dimension so they don't look so flat. Okay. Alright, let's go add some of our layers to our beard and our braid. So we'll start with the braid. That's a little bit more dry on my painting. And I'm going to create a lighter colored braid than the beard. So I'm going to grab some of that territorial beige. I'm going to pull it off to the side on my palette. I'll grab some white and mix it right in there and create just a light color here. Just want to lighten that up a little bit. So as I'm creating this braid and trying to achieve that look, I want to think about how a braid looks and then use my brush strokes in the way that hair would flow in a braid. So for instance, if I've got this side of my braid, my brush strokes are going to come this way in my braid, right? So I'm going to just do some brush strokes that way and kind of curve it just a little bit around that edge there. We're going to come to the center then. Then we're going to go the other way with it, and so a braid comes over the top of the other side. Okay. And then in this little triangle piece here where the two meet, it comes just straight down. So I'm doing just small little brush strokes going straight down into those two pieces. Okay. I'll just bring this down just a little bit. And then we do the same thing. We're going to come around to the center. And then from the other side, it's going to kind of overlap that other piece. Coming down to that next piece, we're going to come to the center with our brush strokes. So we're creating bold brush strokes to help indicate that hair. And then we come the other way with it and come slightly over the top, and we're coming down to this point. And then this is where our tie is. So after that, all our hair is going straight down. So we'll just add those brush strokes from where that tie is, and we're going to come straight down with that. Okay. All right, so we also want to just have some even lighter areas. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to my lightened territorial beige. We're going to lighten it even more. And we're going to then come in with that and add some brush strokes in our braid. Just to, again, give us some dimension so we can really see that hair come out and start to see that braid being formed. Okay, so that's our 3 layers there. So now let's go work on the gentleman's beard. I'm going to go straight into that territorial beige and just kind of mix all my colors here. I'm trying to get just a little bit of a lighter color here. We don't want to lighten it too much. We want it to be a little bit different than the braid. And if you need to make a whole new pile, that's fine too. Just something a little bit lighter. Okay, I think that will work. Okay, so for the beard, in my example, I've got this little mustache right under his nose. And so what I've done, I start at the nose, I come around, and I just kind of curve up, kind of like a fish hook. And then I go the other way with it and meet there and create this little handlebar almost at the tip. So we've got this almost a teardrop shape. I'm just going to kind of fill that in with some of that light color there. Okay, and then the rest of the beard kind of curves under, comes around and curves under his mustache here. So I'm going to start at the top and think about creating a J. And so we're going to just add some brush strokes like that. And the further we get out away from the nose area, we're going to come back and make sure we come back into that J. So they all meet into that original curve or loop of the J there. Okay. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of some black out. We want to darken it just a little bit. So I'm going to put a little drop of black on my palette. I'm going to go grab some of that original territorial beige I've got. And I got too much black. Black goes a long way. Be careful with it. See if I can lighten that up a little bit. There we go. So the areas that I want to put just a little bit of a darker color in is right behind the nose here. So I'm going to put little brush strokes coming down around the nose and kind of meet up to that. I'm curving it around the nose and meeting up to that teardrop shaped mustache. And then under the mustache where we are curving it around, and in this little curve I've got some dark color. Adding a little bit of dark in those areas helps give us some dimension. And we've got the light colored hair that kind of pops up, and then we've got some dark in the background there. And then I'm also going to just add one brush stroke of dark along this back side. And under his hat here, we'll darken it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's go back to that. Add a little bit of white here. So we're kind of just playing around with this brown color, creating light and dark values of it. I've got a little bit of some light there, and now we're going to come in with this beard here and add some bold brush strokes, just like we did with the braid. Come in, we do our big J to start with. That helps us get our shape in for the curved part of the beard, the curl. And then I'm just going to come in with short, bold brush strokes in that beard, adding some light value to it. In the dark areas, I'm going to just add just a few brush strokes of that light, really light pressure, just a tad there. I don't want to lighten it up too much. And there we go. All right, so let's let this dry. We're going to come back in with some black and we'll add the band and do a little bit more detail work on that area. But let's move on to doing the patterns on the shirts. So for the gentleman's pattern, I did do a plaid type background, and I forgot I used a flat brush for that, so let me grab that out. Let's see if this is the one. Yep. So just a smaller flat brush to help me get those straight lines. Excuse me. It doesn't matter the size. If you use a smaller flat, you can get a smaller plaid, or just add additional lines to get a larger plaid. So size really doesn't matter, but I'll show you a quick trick with this that can help get those plaid designs fairly easy. So I've got my granite gray background, and I'm just going to add layers of lines, stripes, in lighter colors than that gray. So I've got a little bit gray left on my palette here, and I'm adding a little bit of white to it, so I'm lightening up that gray. And then what I'm going to do with this flat brush is, let's just start in the middle here. It's a little bit easier to kind of start in the middle and work your way out. We'll start here. I'm going to lay my brush right on the edge of that beard. I'm just going to pull it out. So there's one horizontal stripe, and then about a brush length away, I'm going to put another one. So I lay it next to that stripe, kind of to eyeball where I want to start my next stripe. I see where that's going to be, and I lay it against the beard and pull away. Same thing, we eyeball it and then just pull a straight line off. So these flat brushes really work well for creating just a fun pattern, plaid pattern. So we're going to do all of the horizontal lines first. And don't worry if your lines don't get exactly up and down or they're super straight. If you think about it, a shirt's plaid's never displayed on a person perfectly straight, right? We've got our arms and we've got wrinkles in the shirt, so to create a straight, super straight plaid on a shirt is not realistic anyways. So having some variation in that is okay. Okay, so and then the next one down would be on my green tape. So we've got my stripe here. Don't forget a little bit of a stripe on this side of the beard. And now we're going to go horizontal. And for that, I'm going to go even lighter. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to my gray. And we're going to go down. Now we don't have very much space on this side here, so I'm going to go half on, half off. And we'll start on the edge here and just go straight down. And then we're going to have just a little bit of a piece kind of under the hat here. And and then coming down, I'm going to start at the bottom and come up until I reach the point where I would run into his beard. And then from there, I'm just going to bring a line straight up from what I created, and then I can fill that in. And feel free to grab a small round to get kind of close to the beard if you want. Okay, and I'll eyeball this. We'll just bring some lines down here. And then maybe half one right where his shirt is touching the gray background there, just to help us get that definition between the two. Okay, and then I'm going to just give my brush a quick wash here, and we're going to go right into some white and just add a little bit of white to the areas that cross. So wherever your light grays cross and create a square or a partial square, add a little bit of white there. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You might have areas that have a full square, some might not even have any. I've got this little gray buffalo plaid shirt, lumberjack shirt for this guy. Okay, and then we're gonna let that dry, and then after it dries, we can come back in with some detail lines. I added some really thin Key West color in here for some just some stitch line look, and then we add some black detail line to that too. Next, let's go to do the ladies pattern, which are little hearts. And if you caught my video last week, you saw how easy hearts can be when we think about them in terms of the letter V. So I'm going to just try and find a little bit bigger of a round. So I've got this round here, I'm not sure the size, but depending on the size of your brush will depend on how big of a heart you're going to get. So when I say a heart is just the letter V, let me see if I can just grab a piece of paper to show you a little close-up of that. So I've got this scratch sheet of paper, and a letter V, when we're doing writing or anything like that, block lettering maybe, we're going to start on one side and come at an angle and bring it down to a point, right? The other side of the V then comes the other way. We bring it down and it connects, and we've got this really cute little heart. So small little hearts are super easy if you think of them as V's and not hearts. So when I put my pattern in, I just started, I tried to create some lines of V's, but ended up just kind of going random. Since there's such a small area, it's kind of hard to create a pattern that's uniform. So we're just going to come out and we're going to add some V's to her dress. And go ahead and maybe add a partial V to one side here where it's wrapping around. We'll come over here and add some. So again, think of the letter V, of just placing a bunch of V's down. And if you want larger hearts, just grab a larger brush. If you want smaller hearts, just grab a smaller brush. There we go. While we're doing the letters V, let's go add those cute little hearts to her hat. We're going to use the other color for that, so I'm going to grab that Key West, fill it up, and I've added 3 hearts here on the edge. Just for a fun accent. And there we go. And then let's add a teal band around the bottom of her braid. Alright, I'm going to switch out to my liner brush, just the smallest little brush, little round brush I have. And I'm going to add that stitching in my jacket here for the teal color. So really all I'm doing is adding some thin lines both horizontally and vertically to my pattern in really no rhyme or reason. Just here and there. Kind of gives it that illusion that there's some stitching in an accent color that kind of happens sometimes in plaid shirts. You get some of those fun different accent colors in those plaids. Alright, so we are ready to start adding some detail line with our black. So I'm going to get some black out on my palette and grabbing that liner brush. I'm going to grab some water from my jug here and just loosen that black up a little bit. When you're doing detail lines with that you really want a nice thin line, it's best to have a little bit of a loose paint here because it will flow a lot better or easier on your palette, or excuse me, your canvas. Okay, so let's start at the top and we'll work our way down. I'm going to add some black lines to the top of their hats here where they're meet, kind of create that division line there. I'm also then going to add some black around the outside of that heart or the inside of their hat. And when I'm creating detail lines for a fun, whimsical project like this, I'm not too concerned about having a super outlined element. Sometimes I leave the space in there. I think it just adds to the whimsical touch of it so it doesn't look too outlined, but you can do whatever you want here. So just a nice light pressure to get a nice thin line. Okay, and then for the hat here, or for this patch, I did some stitching in the shape of a heart. So just a series of small dashes with my liner brush, all in the shape of a heart. And if you want to, you could sketch in a heart if you're nervous about putting that in by hand. Just use a little pencil with a light weight and lightly sketch in a heart there. And then once your paint is dry, you can use an eraser and erase any of your pencil marks that you have. Just use a really light pressure when you're doing that so you don't, smudge up your paint. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of some black lines around the rim here. Also on the other side. Okay, then we're going to add some line work around the nose. And then in the beard, I'm just going to add a few black lines just to help define the shape of that beard, kind of going around that J shape that we have here where it's curling around, and then on the mustache here, just kind of a few here and there. Okay. I'll add a little bit of black down the lady's shirt here, and then again on the braid, let's just add a few black lines. Not a lot, but that will really help define that braid. Then down at the bottom, a couple just going straight down. And then also in the plaid, I'm going to add just a little bit of some black. Just random black lines. And that's it. I think I'm going to add a little black heart in here as well. And there we go. That is our gnome kissing painting. Gnome kisses. Let's see, I'm trying to find a little round here. I want to do one more thing. The beard just needs maybe just some streaks of white in here. Just for a little more definition. There we go. It's looking a little bit dark. We're going to just brighten it up a little bit. And that is our painting today. So I just want to say thanks for watching. If you paint this, please share, send me a message, share on our page, share on your page, tag me in it. I would love to see your guys' creations because they're all going to be different and all wonderful. And it's always about the process and letting our minds kind of free themselves of the everyday troubles and do some exploring. Creative exploration. You might want to do a different pattern. You might want to have some stripes in the hat or some polka dots or whatever that may be. So feel free to take yours to the next level as you're painting. Don't be afraid of those questions that come up in your mind saying, what if? Just go with them. If you don't like it, if you're nervous about painting, if you're just new to painting and you don't want to mess up a canvas or do something wrong, I highly recommend getting a mixed media pad. These things are great for allowing us to have freedom in our painting. We can be free of mistakes, because if we make a mistake, well, we turn the page and start over. It allows us to practice and just explore some of that creativity without fear of messing up a canvas or something else. Thanks, Katie. Turned out super cute. I think so. I love the little gnomes. They're so fun to paint. So let me bring it up to show you that edging that I was telling you about. So since I taped that off, I get this really great white border around my painting, which just adds a little frame to that painting, which I like. And so to compare, this one does not have that. In my mixed media pad, I typically don't tape off my edges. I just paint right to the edge, and both are equally pretty. I like to just show you the difference that that technique can give you. All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. I would so appreciate any of the thumbs up or hearts that you want to give our small business, spreading the joy. And again, as always, share your work. I would love to see what you're working on, whether it be on canvas or a mixed media pad. The process of sharing our work also builds confidence, which that confidence is, builds our artistic process, but also that confidence can spill into other things in our life too. So be bold and share your work. It will be great. All right. Thanks again, ladies, and we will talk to you later. Bye.